Ya que sea una charla y que sea todo un tema distendido. No, el English tampoco es mal. Oh, hello. Hey,
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
how are
Hi.
you, Peter? Can we? I mean, can we treat you as Pete? Can we call
Yeah,
you
yeah,
Pete, or is that?
yeah.
Got it.
It's,
Okay,
it's whatever you want.
Okay.
got it. So
Nice.
yeah, my name is Thomas. Here we have Luciano or Luchito, however you want to pronounce it, however
Hmm.
it's easier to you.
Yeah,
And yeah, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us.
yeah,
Uh,
sure, no problem.
So yeah, first of all, we'd like to ask you a few questions so people can get to know you better. Uh, like we know you are Peter Frankie. You've been playing for a while now. We know that you've been topping in big tournaments, like at least from BT14. We saw that you ended up third place with Royal Knights in a big regional. So yeah,
Third
uh,
place. I wish it was first place or fourth place. Oh God.
I
Yes.
saw the list. It was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
tell
Thank you.
us
Thank
a
you.
little bit about you. What do you do for a living? Where do you live? Things like that. I don't know.
Ah, sure. So, you guys got my name already. I'm actually in. You guys know I'm from New York. I'm actually in the military. I was
Mhm.
lucky enough to get the time off to even go to Japan and do the whole worlds thing. Which is
I
cool because
see.
my whole job was like, if anything, I was nervous I wouldn't get the time, and then they
Oh, that must
once
have
they
been a
once they
shame.
heard, yeah, once they heard that I got like invited out there, they're like, no, 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 take these days off, go get your ass out
That's cool.
there.
That's cool. Yeah,
um, Other than that, uh,
yeah. That already gives us an image about you. So that's cool. How did you get into Digimon, or have you always been a TCG player? Did you play any other card games before that?
yeah, uh, I was originally a Yu-Gi-Oh person.
Oh, I see.
I still kind of am at heart, but I can't do Yu-Gi-Oh competitive anymore because game got kind of silly.
I get
Um,
it.
I dabbled now and then with Magic, a little bit of Dragon Ball, because some of my friends were trying to teach me.
Yeah, we
But
have many
when
of those like here. A lot of people from the Digimon TCG community here in Argentina have played
mhm,
games like that before, especially Dragon Ball, I think. Many of them are into One Piece too now. It's a pretty popular game here.
mhm.
So yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I dabbled in One Piece as well. I just kind of backed out of it because it was early when Red was the best deck, but yeah, I was
Mm.
already invested in Digimon, so I didn't want to drive myself nuts playing too many games at once.
No, I get you. You can only get
Oh yeah.
competitive in one game, two at most, right?
Ugh.
So it takes a lot of time to get to the level you want. Yeah, makes sense.
Hmm.
And another thing that we'd like to know is you are part of a team, right? That's what you mentioned to me yesterday. You were going to record the profile. So yeah, it makes sense. You have a lot of people there at your local scene, I guess, who you play with normally, right?
Yeah, my local scene is kind of huge. We have kind of all of New York City coming together.
Oh,
Uh, we have, let's see, we have Brooklyn, Bronx, and then we go up to like the upper parts of New York, Connecticut, stuff like that. So we're
I
we're
see.
we're we're pretty big on this side.
I see. I see. Here in Argentina, we have something similar. Like, say, a lot of people from Buenos Aires get together once in a while for some big tournaments of around 100 people. We don't usually get more than that, but
Mm.
it's pretty big for our standards, I'd say. So, yeah, that's cool. In fact, there is one like that tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, yeah. Um, and yeah, we'd like to talk about, more about the whole experience of going to the World Championship, getting there, preparing for, competing, things like that. So, anything you want to share with us about how was the process when you figured out, hey, I'm going to play security controller and I'm going to win this.
Yeah. So security control has been probably one of my main decks. I've actually started with it since it was yellow red,
I
since
see.
BT1.
Right, the
Uh,
McDonald's bills.
oh yeah. So with every set that came out, I would always just tune it up and adjust it. Kind of like it was a deck I had the most fun with. Normally because every deck that came out, whether it was Lord Nightmon or Greymon when that was the big thing, um, that played a different game than the other ones. Lilith also,
Mm.
well, not Lilith, Lilith Lupin. That was a big deck too. That was also a different game,
Oh,
but that deck was also silly. But Lord Nightmare was just a better deck in my
you
opinion back
see,
then.
I'm starting to notice a pattern, but I won't mention it until later on. But you might have already talked to one of our friends here who might have contacted you about your list, and he's also the same kind of person.
Oh, nice. um, prob maybe I have. There's a couple people, but I
No,
think
I'm
I
sure
majority have
there's
an
been a
idea.
lot of people talking to you lately. I can figure out, yeah.
Yeah, but
So
even
yeah.
then, like, yeah, but even then, it went from Setcon to D Reaper to
Oh, the Reaper too.
oh yeah,
Okay.
all the gimmick decks I was a big fan of, and I was always a menace over here with them because
Even
the
Esmond?
oh well, not Eosmon. That's the one deck I didn't mess with because
Right.
that deck just didn't look appealing to me, let alone didn't much over here. Uh, yeah. So when every deck just does the same exact thing, just I'm just gonna turn my whole table sideways. That's not
Hmm.
exactly that gets boring to me. I like I like doing a little more thinking, and a deck like Setcon, a lot of people say it's autopilot, but when you have to make
No,
one
I
move a
don't think
turn,
that's true. You have to always think like 2 turns ahead. There's a lot of skill in
yeah.
that. Yeah. Hmm.
If you only have one move a turn, it you have to make it count every single turn, otherwise it just sucks.
Exactly. No, I get it. Like super big moves, always powerful, but you have to know what you're doing because the wrong card in the wrong turn may lose you the game. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, back
Uh,
to the topic. Why did you choose that specifically for a tournament of 16 people who you know are like the best of the world?
I think he's an evil tamer right now.
I might be. Digimon Emperor is one of my favorite cards. um, yeah, as I was practicing for the format, one thing I one thing I realized is when all the aggro decks that come out, unless they were Black or Greymon, when that was a big menace in itself.
Hmm.
If you don't have protection against just random bombs in your life, it's gonna mess your whole day up. So even
Right.
Leviamon, like decks like Leviamon, if they hit something, building that whole stack up really hurts. It really sucks. I've been on the receiving end of that because I was also considering playing Leviamon instead, but that just didn't happen because I figured, you know what? All I need to do is kill the stack, and then the deck moves so fast. I'll just either A, deck them out, or B, excuse me, or B, they'll just run out of resources and I can pick at them slow.
No, I get it.
Uh
It's what usually happens to, purple decks in general. Yeah,
oh
that's
yeah.
true.
The only real issues I thought about were bumping into something like Red Hybrid, and I thought that was going to be more represented than it was. I
Hmm.
was surprised to only see two decks there, and I played against only one of them.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
that's exactly what gets us thinking, I mean, 16 people, two of them played Red Hybrid, four of them I think played Leviamon. So pretty scary, but yeah, you ended up on top, so that's cool.
yeah. I pretty much built my deck to handle Red Hybrid, and then once I was able to handle Red
Really?
Hybrid, there was no other deck I played against except for
Hmm.
maybe Fenrir Luga when it was built specifically to handle my deck really did much to me. I had somebody at my locals, they shoved four ADPs into their deck just to make sure they
Four?
can never lose never lose to me ever again. It was the
Now that
sickest thing. It was
how can
but
you even make the space for that? No,
I don't know, but he somehow did it, and it was the worst day of my life.
okay.
But stuff like that, uh, I didn't lose to anything unless somebody did something like that, or maybe Bloomlord got really lucky and was able to really out swarm my deck, which even
Hmm.
then that was very rough.
Right, I see. Yeah, if you don't perhaps see the relations of light and time, you might not be able to win against that. I can kind of think of, the situation.
Yeah, hundred
Uh,
percent. Like if there's not if you have nothing to worry about when you are swinging, then you just don't care when you're playing decks like that. But my deck makes
no,
you.
absolutely. Sometimes, people just swing and try to chip away your security, and you keep getting Salamons and security. Sounds like, hey, I'm expecting a bomb here, not you, not the
Mm-hmm.
rookie. So, yeah, I get it. Uh, so yeah, I think that you ended up having 9 points at the end of the Swiss rounds, right? I think there were
Yes.
5 of them. So
Yes.
you lost 2 of them. What decks have been giving you, a lot of trouble in that tournament? What did you lose against it?
So round one, I played against Frozen. Uh,
Hmm.
and the best of one, absolutely horrendous. But we
I get it.
played. He played his best. I played to my best in that environment. Um, a little bit of what you saw in the finals match also happened in that round one. Uh,
Hmm.
I guess he's not used to playing against his deck, so he took a little bit to make his plays. Uh, but yeah, we went into it. It eventually came out in his favor because, well, with the nature of my deck, if there's nothing to stop him from swinging into everything, well, it's
Right. Hmm.
yeah. There goes Avaya just chomping away at your whole life.
No,
Um,
definitely.
my round two was supposed to be against somebody who I guess didn't show up. So
Oh, he was
I was
that Fandangamon player, right?
yeah, it was the Deva player. Apparently he didn't show up. We don't know
Hmm.
what caused that, but I'm never gonna
Okay.
turn down. I'm never gonna turn down a buy. I'm also I'm confident in my Deva matchups anyway because those always end up in my favor just because of the way
Mm,
the game drags out.
right.
My round three was against another Leviamon, somebody on the Asia side,
Okay.
and he he played very differently from Frozen, and he played very fast, thank God. But he also played too fast, and he decked himself out in 5 minutes. So,
Right.
let's see. So it was Frozen by Levy, and then round four was Red Hybrid. Um,
I want to hear more about that. Yeah.
uh,
How does a
it
game
was
against Red Hybrid with your list usually go?
I shut the whole deck out. Uh,
Really?
yeah. So I opened up my opening hand. It's great. I remember it was photogenic. It was Magna Ace, Venus Mon, Shadow Serafi, Salamon, and a Digimon Emperor.
I
And
see.
he went
Yeah, Digimon
first.
Emperor. I can see how much of an impact it could make against Red Hybrid.
Oh yeah. So he
Mhm.
put me to four. He set the memory setter. I said Magna Ace as my first play. Then Venus Mon as just to pass a turn, and then when it came back to me on the second turn, I just hard slammed Shadow Serafi and put him to 12. And
Oh,
then he couldn't play anything for the rest of the match.
oh,
He
I
couldn't
can.
attack, he couldn't raise up. It was a complete shutout.
Yeah, I see how that must have hurt. Yeah, especially like you said, in a best of one, perhaps he was planning a whole game plan and he wasn't able to, you know,
Yeah, and then he
make
just
it a
gets
reality. Right.
yeah. I felt bad because he started hard slamming down his Emperor Greymonds and his Aldemons. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you shouldn't be sorry. Red Hybrid can be nasty too, so
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. I think that deck is. I think that's also a toxic deck, but that's me. And then my last round was Bloom Lord.
Hmm.
Um, and that is a testament to the best of ones. I drew a brick. I mulliganed into another brick, and I couldn't play the game for about 4 turns. And in those 4 turns, he was able to go straight up into double Hydramon. It was like, oh well, I just
Oh,
lose. So
right. Yeah, I can see how that must have hurt. I mean, him sending to the bottom of your deck your Ranchemons, your ability to, heal with Flame Hellside, things like that. Yeah.
yeah, it did. I wish I even drew a Magna Angemon in those matchups. I didn't even draw anything.
Oh, you didn't.
It
That's
was
even
great.
worse.
It was upsetting. But
Right.
I guess the tiebreakers picked me up because some of these people were also people that Frozen had defeated. So I guess I was the underdog of the day. So I
You
clutched out
definitely
my.
were. Yeah. I mean, at least here in Argentina, we didn't experience too much of the format yet, but
Mhm.
the general consensus is that Leviamon can put up a very good fight against security control.
Absolutely.
hmm So yeah, when we saw the top four and we saw okay, security control and free Leviamons, this is going to be tough for him. But
Mhm.
if he wins, we can see him play again against the same deck.
And Thomas, my friend here, was
Oh, I was
Leviamon.
absolutely rooting for Leviamon
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
but
Only
then
Luchito,
certain things happened that turned that around.
only
So,
Luchito for you, eh?
but we'll get into that a few minutes later.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, top four. You saw that you were going to play against Frozen again if you had the chance, and you were playing against Take first, right? I
Yes.
think Take was the name. Yeah. So
Yes.
how? What were your feelings? What were you feeling? What were you
uh.
thinking?
Um. First, I was kind of hyped in the moment. We had So first and foremost, we all of us made an agreement. Try to knock out all the people from like the Asia side. Don't let any of them in the top four. And
Okay.
we kind of achieved that when we got there, but since Take got in and was like, all right, now it's up to me. I got to be the hero. So I had no idea he was another Levia player.
hmm
And when I saw the egg flip up, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is gonna be another rough one.
Right.
Um, he played very well. He played great. Uh, the Once I noticed he wasn't playing any biting crushes in his deck,
hmm
it at that point it just became way easier for me to play the game because that that just means everything in my deck is free to play. I could do my Taos Tides, I could special summon all my Digimon. Um,
I see.
yeah, so it, if anything, in the last round, I thought I almost made myself lose because we went back and forth with the turn so fast. I didn't know I was the last turn. So instead of me digivolving into Shadow Serafi and ending the match, I could have just recovered one and won off those time rules myself. But
Right. I remember
luckily,
that the deciding factor was the cards in the deck, right?
yes. And since Levia loves drawing cards because they
hmm
kind of have to, uh, I was a little worried, but not as
I
terrified as
get
when
it.
I first saw the deck flip its egg up.
Yeah, yeah, I can see. And then, well, you ended up playing the final against Frozen. So we all kind of saw what the first game was like.
Yeah.
He chipped away at your security and won like it was nothing,
Hmm.
right? But then
Yes.
the second game came to play, and well, he. I mean, this is what I wanted to ask you before.
Yeah, by all means.
So yeah, the
Tommy,
general idea in the Twitch chats and YouTube was like, man, he's trying to win by time. He knows he can't win the second game against you.
yeah. And we have the viral clip of the night.
We'll get into that. We saw a
Yeah.
certain play with Gilmon and Garcimon that shouldn't be omitted.
Yeah. Uh, I
But yeah.
I I caught on to it as well, but I don't. So I will say I won't write it off as like malicious. Maybe he was trying to write it off as like a time win,
hmm
cause I was kind of uh I was kind of nodding to him like, hey, I'm not a stickler for uh like time scamming or rules like that, right? I'm not gonna tell you, hey, you gotta make a move. It's been 1 minute. I'm not gonna
Right.
hound you because I believe some of that
No,
is like
no.
that sportsmanship.
If anything, we saw that in both games, even against Take, both players were usually respectful, and of the time the other was using. I mean, there was much at stake, so you had to plan your
Yeah,
moves. So.
right. Yeah, especially against security control, that it makes you think because you have to play a different game than what you're used to. So
hmm
I didn't want to go and chalk it up to him saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna slow down just so he can lose." Now granted, there was one very long turn that even I when I
Yeah, it
had to say
lasted like 4
something,
minutes.
I think it was a 6 to 7 minute turn to be exact. Where
Oh, no.
I
Okay.
actually
Yeah.
had to like tell Frozen over our little headset, like, hey, listen, you do kind of have to, you got to do something because the clock is running.
Right. Yeah.
And the judges were aware of it. I know in over there overseas, they don't really deal with situations like this. So
They don't.
I imagine they weren't used to that. They didn't know how to handle that.
Mm.
Everybody in both the judge Discord and all my friend groups, pretty much everybody I know that is a judge, um, were saying, oh, he should have gotten at least several warnings, especially when he had
Yeah.
the small mishap with his deck flipping up. But there were no warnings given because obviously it wasn't malicious. He was thinking everything through, and I'm kind of glad everything was settled with just me like pushing him to, hey, like, hey, listen, time, you got like
Right. It didn't have
five
to be
minutes
anything
left.
major. Like the judge
Yeah,
didn't really have to get that involved. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, and I would have hated for the worlds to end with, hey, listen, you're taking too long, disqualified, and that would have
Yeah.
really sucked.
No, no, yeah, definitely. It
Yeah,
wouldn't be a good show for anyone. It
Right,
wouldn't speak highly of the game even, right? Like, who wants to play
right,
a game where games get decided like this? So
right,
no,
right.
definitely.
was awful, was awful.
Hmm.
I had to send a message to Frozen at the end of the game. A really nice message to him.
No, don't be like that. Okay, so here in Argentina we have a custom like if you really want to how can I say this? If
Wait,
you want to brag about your win against someone you know of,
Mm,
uh, you call you'd say that the game was too easy, right? But we say
right.
it in a special manner, like facilito, we say, which is
Mhm.
like the diminutive of easy,
easy peasy, lemon
Right.
squeezy.
right? Kind of like that. And so Luchito, while we were watching the streaming, he opened up Translate and translated facilito to
To
German,
German,
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, uh, all respectfully, right? So yeah, we want to be respectful to each player, and we don't want any parts of the community to be,
D- don't lie, Thomas.
fighting
Don't
each other.
lie. Luchito
I'm not lying. I'm
wasn't
not like that.
wasn't respected.
But Luchito here, he really likes to, have material for his videos
Nah,
and
nah, not
fights like
material.
that,
Real life.
and rescues. So
I respect it. I'm also a little bit of a, I'm a, I'm an advocate for some chaos myself. I like the messy situations. But yeah, like for overall, Frozen's a really cool dude, and he was great to
mm,
hang out with for over the week we were there. Uh, like I'm not gonna say he came off, like, oh, he didn't come off as one of those guys that like, oh yeah, I'm gonna cheese this win type of. Like, he just had to,
okay,
he just took
yeah,
a little
definitely.
extra.
In fact,
He,
I want to ask you about that. I mean,
Mhm.
those kind of events usually tend to generate like let's say some rapport at the very least between the players, right? I mean,
Right.
you ended up going with I think Bryce was his name. Uh,
Yes.
so what was your relationship with him? Did you guys like test against each other? I mean, at the very least, I know that if he would have gotten to the top four, you would have rooted for him, right? Because he's also from an A, I guess.
Oh, well,
So.
yeah, absolutely. Like Bryce is also a really cool dude. It was, I think he was trying to play, with what he was more used to from back in Nets, because I think, if I remember correctly from his build, he was trying to play it more Anubis leaning,
Hmm.
just with Levi as the top end. But he
Right.
just, I guess he just had a bad day.
Nah, it may happen, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but things happen.
right. So then we have like a few more technical questions about the game, the format, things like that. But if you want to use, some time to talk about things like you wanna let people know or something, go ahead about, the tournament, the event, things like that.
Um, the event was really cool. They One thing that was a little weird on Bandai's end was that they said, "Hey, you guys can join the side events if you want. Just good luck because you
Hmm.
can't use your English cards." It's like, oh well, why tell us if we can't even use our cards? Uh, We were hanging out with what's his name, East, another very
Yeah,
known
we love his
stream.
videos here. We really
Yeah,
love his
he's
videos.
awesome dude. I love him to death.
Oh,
He
Eh,
was at. Mhm.
a minute, please. Tommy, preguntale qué opina de los cupos, de que Japón tiene 8 cupos y todo el resto del mundo tiene uno o dos. Preguntale eso, ya que
okay.
mencionó
So
eso.
Luchito here wants to know about what do you think about Japan getting 8 slots or 6 slots, I think, for the World Championship, and the rest of the world having, to scrap by, like NA having only two, Latin America only having one, and so on and so on.
I think Latin America only having one wasn't right. I think same with Oceania only having one. I think that was a little unfair. But
Hmm.
I think that was a testament to how big the community is in those sections. But
Definitely.
I could be wrong because
I
obviously I
mean,
don't know.
there is a few
Um,
things with Latin America that we sometimes feel kind of ignored because
mhm.
Latin America is like a super big region. Like you got
Yeah,
Mexico, and then you have things, at the other end of the world here in Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, etc.
yeah.
And sometimes, like the finals was done at Mexico, and for a lot of people here in South America, became like impossible to travel there and compete,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So we usually don't feel that's fair. We think that Bandai should at very least divide Latin America into regions, but we know
Hmm.
that's not going to happen anytime soon, so we don't bother.
Yeah. That is unfortunate.
Hmm.
Because if NA got two people and Europe got two people, everyone else should have at least two. I think Asia having six people. I think yeah, Japan rather I should say. I think them having six people makes sense since
Hmm.
one they're ahead of us. Two, the game is big over there. It's a lot bigger than people let off to be.
I can imagine, yeah.
Oh my god, because I've seen a couple of comments, a couple of people say, hey, like the game isn't as big over there. The game is huge. It's just way more
Oh,
casual. It's just way
okay.
more casual. That's all it is.
I see.
Like
No, yeah, definitely.
everywhere I went, there was if there wasn't pictures of it of the new set of it being advertised. From what East had told me, when their new set, the EX6 actually is what they're on. When that dropped, everything got sold out immediately because of how popular it is, and it
That's
definitely
great
changed
to hear
my opinion.
because, yeah, we definitely know now that the game is not going to die anytime soon, right? So
Oh,
that's great to
absolutely
hear.
not. Hmm.
Hmm. Then we have a few more questions like, what do you think about, finals game of a tournament should be played without a timer perhaps, or do you think that the timer should still be needed in those situations?
Um, N- No, so over, I don't know how it was for you guys in Latin America. For our
Hmm.
nationals, it was played with no time limit in the finals. But
Right.
that was also because we had nothing else coming up afterwards.
Oh, I see.
Because yeah, so Digimon I think was the last match for the Bandai Fest over here. So as opposed to One Piece and Japan, which came right afterwards, and they didn't want to keep things open. So over here being open late and all that stuff isn't really a problem for a lot of people.
Hmm.
Whereas Japan, it's a whole different world, right? So I imagine that's unheard of because they're very timely, they're very organized. So I think it, I think Worlds shouldn't have had the time limit,
Hmm.
and uh, and I do understand again with Frozen being like uncomfortable during the whole time because it was hot in the jackets. He was asking to take the jacket off, and they
Of
wouldn't let him.
course.
Poor guy. But I do, I understand why they did time because, like I said, Japan wants to be on organized and on time with everything. They don't want things to drag on,
No, it makes
especially
sense, and
when One
perhaps,
Piece.
having a
Mhm.
timer also helps, to keep the flow of the game constant, right? But
Yes.
players need to make moves and their turns on time. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just wait for 10 minutes, right?
Right. Yeah. There's also that, right? Because it if you're going to that level, it is important to know what your deck does, to know what all your cards do. Uh, it's easier for a deck like mine because you already do that in locals levels as just by playing the deck. So that was not as difficult for me, but for a deck like Frozen and someone like him who thinks everything through, he was put under pressure. So the time limit, uh, I understand why they had the time limit. I don't think it
Hmm.
should have been there, but I do understand.
Right. And then we have like a general idea here in Argentina that security control people say is a slow deck. We don't really think that way, many of us. There is like a lot of controversy. People love security control, people hate it. You know how it is. It's the same everyone
Yeah,
else, I guess.
right.
So, what are your opinions on that? I mean, here Luchito, for example, says people just should just learn how to play against the deck or make their moves swiftly.
I don't. I like Luchita. I like him because he says the same thing I say.
Okay.
but but I do. But they're also not fully wrong. Like the deck naturally flows. It is a slow deck. The As the pilot of the deck, you don't need to be slow for the deck itself to be built. Uh,
Hmm.
to last a while to make almost every game into a grind game. Um,
Right.
so they're not fully wrong, but uh, you could use the streamed match as a testament. I think out of the 50 to 65 minutes we had in our match, I
Hmm.
think only 15 of them were from me. 15
No,
minutes were from me.
definitely. Now, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I mean, the deck itself is not slow, but I think that what it generates in the other player is like, okay, I have to make my move count, and that usually ends up being like people trying to prepare big moves, big turns, where
Yeah.
they can, where they kind of, try to take away at least half of your security or things like that.
Hmm.
And it usually happens when you have seen like half of your deck at least, unless you've been lucky. So I don't know. Uh, that's at least the superficial idea I have on this, I guess. I don't
Right.
want to dive too deep on this,
Yeah.
but
It could go back and forth forever just because the nature
exactly.
of the decks.
Hmm. So we kind of been here for like half an hour, and I'd like to know how much time do you have for us? If you say I want to, be over with this in 5 minutes,
No,
we'll shut it down. And if you have a few more minutes, that's great. We'll keep
nah,
asking you questions.
by all means, I'm free. Yeah, I'm free until you guys feel like shutting it
Tommy,
down.
Awesome.
he's the world champion. He has no more things to do. He wins everything.
there
It's
there is
over.
that too.
It's over. Go Dragon Ball. Go One Piece. It's over.
I don't think that's true, but okay. So, what do you think about BT15 as a whole, as a format, as a whole? I mean, we kind of touched about it with Apocalypse and Anubismon, I guess. We all kind of think that.
Hmm.
But where do you think the game is headed? What decks are you, excited to play or excited to play against even? Uh, what are your thoughts?
Sheesh. I think Worlds is actually a testament to what the format will look like. A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
old decks came out of the woodwork because nobody knew what the Worlds was going to look like, right? Because Apocalypse
Exactly.
Mon got the Banhammer, Anubis Mon got nerfed down. Thank God, both of those decks had. Well, Anubis Mon, I'm reserved on that. I think they just could have hit Mervamon instead of Anubis, and it would have been better. But
Okay.
but it made sense. Leviamon is a silly deck, absolutely silly.
Yeah, it's
Um,
way stronger than I pictured before.
yeah. Fenrir with the new support absolutely makes its way back into the format.
Right.
But then everything else also makes sense because now Shine Greymon can still do Shine Greymon things. Uh,
Right. And the same goes for Mirage even. Yeah.
yeah, Mirage also does the same thing Mirage does. It's gonna make your life living hell. You have Bloom Lord who now has Quantumon, and they have another level 6 that helps them out.
Yeah,
Uh,
and a
and
lot, to be honest.
and
Hmm.
if anything, what I'm surprised didn't make more of an appearance other than Red Hybrid was the Numamon deck.
Right.
Sure, they don't have the Ukomon that comes out in BT16, but even without that, that deck is absolutely silly.
Oh, it's slowly gaining traction here in Argentina. People are starting to play it, and they've been getting some results. So,
Yeah, that deck is. I expected to see more of that, and
mm,
that also surprised me. Um, I wasn't surprised that the two players using it were the same two who had their winning mirror match in their over in Asia. But that was a shock to me. Uh,
right now, definitely, I would expect to see more of Numamon in the top 16 as well. Yeah.
yeah. But as for 15, I think the format is gonna look just like that. It's gonna be a big mix of Fenrir, Levy, Bloomlord, maybe Shine Gray and Mirage will still poke their head in.
I,
And there are the gimmicky decks, which is gonna be my favorite deck to mess with. It's gonna be the Dark Masters with Omnimon. So
oh yeah.
that that deck has been so fun. I almost took that to Worlds too, but I had a couple of very good friends in my corner who knocked that
To
out,
be honest,
knocked me
decks like
seats.
that, showing up, just it shows us how creative people can be sometimes with their deck building. It's a pretty funny deck to play and play against even. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh
yeah, we all love Omnimon, I guess.
oh, absolutely, and especially with the Terriermon deck that just came out, that's
Hmm.
also that's also a very good deck too. Don't sleep on that because the if anything also has a good chance against beating Levia. Uh, that deck
Right.
is very good against it, just because they can get immunity to Biting Crush, etc., etc.
No,
So,
definitely, and you can, use the Mega Gargomones to, floodgate their revolutions. They are not able to go to Leviamon, I think. So
hmm
that can be kind of strong too, I guess.
yeah.
And then Luchito would also like to know, he sent me a message. What do you think about English and Japanese formats getting unified by the end of the year, I think it was? Or around
Uh,
January, I think.
is it around January? Well, whenever set, they said like around by set 18 to 20, but
Perhaps
then
I'm
this,
wrong,
yeah,
but
but
I thought it was
this,
around like January of next year.
yeah, if it is, regardless of when it happens, I love the idea because now,
Hmm.
um, we have this habit of looking to Japan and since they're ahead of us, so a lot of
Hmm.
our decks kind of originate off their ideas. But
Yeah.
now, once we get unified, we don't have to we don't have to piggyback off them. I mean, it'll probably end up evolving into the same thing. Like, oh, we'll get like the same consensus on what decks are good, what decks are not.
No,
But
definitely, but we can
it,
also be the pioneers for the first time, right?
yeah, like we could be the ones leading the charge. Where oh, we'll get the special sauce deck that does
Yeah.
amazing before they do. Uh, but overall, I think it's great because now it brings out some creativity in a lot more people. Um,
Right.
and then we don't have to deal with the unfair advantage of big events like this. Like for Worlds, they're coming backwards a couple of sets, so you could look at that in a couple ways. Either it's unfair for them because they have to come backwards in their format; they can't play with something they've been using for the past couple of months,
No,
and
definitely. It was like a super new format for them. Like they've been expecting
Mhm.
perhaps, okay, I should just play Apocalypse, why not? And it was not supposed to be like that.
Right, yeah, even then. And then it also isn't fair to us because if Apocalypse and Anubismon weren't the reigning champions of that, they would have
Yeah.
had that whole format and then some of
Exactly.
experience. So
Hmm.
they already have that format solved, and we're the ones who are going brand new. So we're stepping into their territory with them being more experienced.
Right.
So I do
Yeah.
like that. It kind of prevents that from happening in the future with bigger events and makes everybody more creative.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And we got a few more questions and then we can round
Sure,
this up.
no problem.
So, what do you think makes a strong deck in this format, right? I mean, we talk about protections a little bit. We also know that decks that can, usually come back from a dire situation are the ones that are usually good. What are your
Mm.
thoughts on this?
Mm, I I want to say you shouldn't worry too much about SetCon because decks like this you don't really build for. You usually build for other decks. Like, oh, I want a red hybrid's popular, so I want to make sure I can build my deck to be
Mm-hmm.
consistent. Like, you want consistency. You want to be able to see your
Definitely.
resources fast. So you want to be able to get to your big boss before they do. So
Right.
I want to say building your deck for SetCon is never healthy because the way the matchup goes is it's probably never gonna go the way you want it to, and if it does, well, you have another game to go, another 2 games to go sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think decks like Leviamon are gonna be the big ones you'll see, especially because the deck is, like I mentioned, it's silly. You just get a card that says, "Hey, you get to bring out this big level 6 that blows up your field for basically nothing, just for you playing your game."
Exactly.
Uh, I think Fenrir is also going to be the sleeper of the format since Fenrir does the same exact thing it did before, but now it's a little faster.
And you got the Black Gatomon Super, I guess, to, kind of deal with Leviamon in the trash. You can just take it out from there and play your game. So that
uh,
helps.
that does help, but because well, I thought of that too of playing Uber in either Leviamon or Fenrir or Setcon. But
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's playing the Garurumon engine for basically every purple deck that ever exists, I imagine one or two Black Auto Overs isn't gonna be enough to deal with the fact that you have to get a Levy X, or multiple Levies and Levy X's out of their
Oh,
trash.
people are still playing, with the Garurumon Shine there in the US?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Eh,
I
so
didn't know about that.
Take and the other Levy player who decked himself out.
Mm-hmm.
It still astonishes me how fast his deck played. It was cool as all hell. Um, they just ended up replacing. They do still play the Gabumon X because you get to search your Levy X's, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they moved to playing was it Dober X Antibody just for the extra draws on top of the Garurumon. Then his inheritable gives you the memory back. You have Cerberusmon X Antibody who lets your Leviathan swing twice if you can't get him off the board, and that sucks.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
everybody builds their deck to just draw and filter through the deck as fast as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the general idea of what a deck should be able to do. If you can't get quickly enough to your boss monster, I mean, what are you doing, right?
Yeah, and just God bless, Godspeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what do you think about BT16? Have you been looking into that already? Is there a deck that you want to play? Or is there a deck that you don't want to play against?
16. I thought about it for a while, but since I'm kind of gonna take a nice little break for most of BT16, I'm not too
Makes
worried
sense.
about it. I'm more excited for EX6 than I am for BT16.
Oh,
But
yeah.
oh yeah, because that headset's gonna be great. But for 16, um, I'm excited to mess with Rapidmon X because now vaccines as a deck have um a boss monster and a viable engine to go with.
Mm-hmm.
And
They got
the
two boss monsters. I mean, they get
oh
access to God
yeah,
Arbor.
in fact I was about to mention him too. Magnamon X is not a fun card to go up against.
No, it's not.
Because that's gonna be depending on how creative people get with that deck, it's gonna be very silly. Because once he comes out, it's a lot of decks that you probably won't see in the format are the ones that'll do the best against him, and even then he's an armor purge, so you might not even matter. Because you lose a security or they lose a security, now he becomes a big beat stick that's immune to everything. So that sucks.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
my thoughts on that, people are
mhm.
going to learn to hate Blinding Ray.
Yes, yes. Blinding Ray is gonna suck. Messenger of Hope is also gonna be another card that people are gonna hate, since you could go Magnamon Hope, Messenger of Hope, go into Magnamon X directly after that, get the immunity off that. It's very silly. I have a couple of decks I have been practicing with on online, and it's Not gonna be I don't think it's gonna be a fun deck to play against, but I am excited to see that a lot of decks are gonna be in the format. So maybe somebody out there has the sauce to deal with that card. I'm not one of them right now, so I'm kind of dreading that. I'm probably gonna even I'm gonna be one of the people playing that myself. It doesn't even help that Chessmon GX gets the immunity
Oh,
going
it's
over him.
incredible.
Yeah, and so now you're just casually swinging for your entire stack with complete immunity. It's like, oh, okay, this just isn't fun.
Yeah, it might even be, a card that decides to mirror. I don't know,
Mm,
but yeah, it's going to be tricky. Learning how to play against that card is
right.
going to be pretty strong.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm all out of questions. I don't know. Anything you want to tell us?
uh, I guess I should point out, like, don't, I guess, hard focus on just those two, because in BT16 when that comes up, we do have other cool decks, like was it
Absolutely. Tyrant
Grand
Kabuterin.
Wagamon? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. Tarot Kabuteri is insane.
I
My
personally
Otismon
want to
gets some more
try.
stuff.
Yeah, I want to personally try Dorugoramon. I'm a fan of that deck, but
Mm.
I don't know. I'll see what I can do with that.
Nah, yeah, the collision is cool, but just because Magnemon X exists,
Yeah,
I don't think decks like that are gonna have a chance to shine. But who knows? It might be good against everything else, just because that deck does do some cool things.
yeah. The image I get is like, DP is going to really, really matter in that format.
Oh, absolutely. You might even see some Greymond decks come back just to kind of
Yeah,
out DP the Magnemon X, just so they
right.
can raid into it or something. Or you'll see one of my friends is an avid enjoyer of Jesmon, and that's another deck that has no has no business coming back, but ironically does great against Magna X, because you don't get anywhere near as big as that guy does.
I mean, now it can touch Magnum X, right? Like it can
Yeah,
use
yeah,
one or two copies. So
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, there
yeah,
is that
that's
too. Oh God.
okay. Yeah, I think we should be rounding up. So final message to the
Mhm.
community. I think
Uh, I guess similar to to what I said on the stage. Don't any deck you could do any good with any deck you have. It's just put some work in, run the reps in. Uh,
exactly.
make sh- what I tell a bunch of my friends over here and people at my locals also. The first thing you want to do, as long as you know what your cards do, you should be fine, and then
Mhm.
everything else just comes afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah, great
If
tip
that makes
for.
sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a great tip to, improving overall in the game.
Mm.
Yeah, I second that. So yeah, thank you. Really, we really appreciate you had the time to come and speak with us. Thank you for
No,
accepting our invitation.
no, of
And
course, of course.
yeah, okay. So a big cheers, congratulations for becoming the world champion, and everybody from Argentina says hello. So yeah,
What's up, guys? Thank you guys
Yeah,
for
thank
having
you.
thank
me,
you,
and
Pete.
thanks for the watching.
Thank you to you. We really appreciate that.
Have a good evening.
You
Bye.
too, guys. Have a good one.
Ok. Bueno, hasta acá llegamos. Gracias, Tommy. Súper intérprete, súper tipazo, hablando inglés fluido. ¿Sabías inglés, chupapija? Yo sabía un poquito de inglés, pero vos taca, taca, taca. Así que gracias, Tommy, por todo. Yo medio que. Ah, se fue a la verga el Tommy. Cerró Discord. Nada, gente, nos queríamos despedir. Me quería despedir con el Tommy. El Tommy se fue a la mierda. Me reignoró. Agradecer a todos los que están hasta acá. Agradecerle claramente a Tommy que se puso la 10. Habló con el amigo Peter. Y se puso en contacto para esta entrevista. A ustedes que me ven, que bancan. Bueno, al tipazo que se sumó y tuvimos una charla de más o menos media hora, un poquito más. Y nada, si me veía muy serio era porque yo, si bien sé inglés, no tengo el nivel de Tommy. Y nada, estaba medio concentrado a ver qué carajo decían y más o menos tirar alguna datita o algún chistecito. Nada, Se agradece a todos el apoyo y esperemos que este tipo de entrevistas sean de su agrado. Hasta la próxima, nos vemos.
Y suscribite, idiota. Mirá, si no te suscribís, te pensás que uno es pelotudo. Yo lo estoy viendo desde acá. Suscribite, el like, el comentario. ¿Qué te cuesta, hermano? ¿Qué querés que haga? ¿Que vaya a amenazarte a tu casa con una pistola? Mirá cómo está Roberto. Mirá cómo está este tipo, es la imagen de un hombre acabado.
Ayuda al algoritmo, la concha de tu hermana.